My name's Bruce. This is my channel. Thank you very much for watching. And this is kind of a part 2. Okay. So in my earlier video, I talked about energy. I talked about electrical generation. I talked about my experience of visiting the car show, the auto show, and seeing the OPG, the Ontario Power and Generation display, and that they were very adamant and enthusiastic regarding nuclear power. And I talked about how a little bit of the way the decisions are made and not made, in this idea that one problem of you get to a certain point is you have people talking in all your ears and you're not really sure who to listen to, and it takes a tremendous amount of education, experience, and discernment to understand the nuances of different viewpoints and different paths for it. By the way, if you have not subscribed to my channel, I certainly enjoy it when people do subscribe. It makes me feel good. But it's not your job to make me feel good. It's my job to this isn't even my job. Goodness gracious. It barely registers as a hobby. It's something that I'm doing because I think it's important to me, and I kind of enjoy it. But, okay. Electrical energy. Okay. We have a tremendous amount of electrical energy in Canada. There's questions about when we make everything electric, when we make all of the heating electric via heat pumps, and we make all the transportation electric via electrified trains and electrified surface transport and electric cars and electric trucks and all that stuff. The question is, oh, well, do we have enough? And the answer is, well, kind of, yeah, but should we get more? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that comes up. Now, so here in the province of Ontario, where I happen to be at this exact second, the Premier and the Minister of Energy have decided that we should have new nuclear plants. Okay, new nuclear plants. Now, nuclear energy, let's talk about it. Is it safe? Yeah, it's safe. I once said, is it safe? And what's an argument against it? And a cousin of mine said, well, Chernobyl. And you know what? That's a valid point. It's just that in the context of the impact on humans and the impact on the environment and the impact on everything of generating electricity, even consideration of Chernobyl and Fukushima, nuclear is relatively benign. It's very, I don't like to use the word safe. I don't like to use the word efficient, but the likelihood of having something very, very, very catastrophic happen is vanishingly small to zero. It's zero. If you're going to nuclear, it's not a concern. Then the question comes up about, what about the nuclear waste? Well, it's not a big deal. I mean, you think it's a big deal, but it's not. The total amount of nuclear waste that has been generated, in terms of when you think of classical nuclear waste, which is like spent nuclear fuel, it's not that much, really. It fits inside of a measurable finite space. It's not that big. It's less than the amount of, you know what? The amount of nuclear waste that's been generated in the history of the world is less the amount of cheese that is in storage in the U.S. National Strategic Cheese Reserve. And if you don't think there's such a thing as a U.S. National Strategic Cheese Reserve, well, guess what? There is. There's big caves, and they're filled with cheese. And that's real. It's kind of funny, you know. Okay, so we talked about nuclear waste, nuclear safety, nuclear whatever. But the one that we want to talk about really is the real cost of nuclear energy. The real cost of nuclear energy is opportunity. Okay, so there's a project going on in the world right now in England, and they're attempting to build some nuclear. Okay? I think it's called this. Hinkley. Okay? Hinkley. Now, the electrical energy design capacity of Hinkley is this. Is 2.4 gigawatts, or 2,400 megawatts. 2,400 megawatts. 2,400 megawatts is 2.4 gigawatts. And let's put that in some sort of context. Province of Ontario. How much electricity does the province of Ontario use? Well, on the peak demand day, like the highest that we got the meter of demand for electricity, as of about 10 years ago, it was a number like 25,000 megawatts. Okay, so 10 of these nuclear plants was about the, like, with everything on, that was how much it was. And then for a period of time, the electrical demand in the province of Ontario went down because of 2008, and there was a kind of a contraction in industrial output and manufacturing and such. And so that went less than that, but it's a number like that, 25,000 megawatts. Somebody can Google it, you can look it up, and you can see what it is. 25,000 megawatts, or 10 of these Hinkley plants. Okay. So, the government of Ontario, meaning the Premier of Ontario, through the Minister of Energy, who is he's a talk show host. Now, if you're going to get someone to be your communicator, I think it's a good idea to have a talk show host being your communicator. And the Premier of the province of Ontario, I must say, he has a nice voice. When he talks, I mean, it's pleasant. And I think I made a video before talked about the hazards of the nice voice, and why there's a little tiny bit of danger with that, because if you happen to be in a meeting talking about serious things, then it's not necessarily always the good idea that makes it through to the surface. Sometimes it's the idea that's coming from the person that with the best voice and who's the most bullied. That's the reality. Okay, so anyway. So Ontario say we're going to build new nuclear. Now, how many new nuclear plants have been built in the province of Ontario in the last 20 years? The answer is 0. How many last 30 years? I think the answer is 0. Okay, 30 years, no nuclear plants. We got some train action going on here. Always exciting. So 30 years, no nuclear plants. That's it. So let's scour the world for a data point. Or heck, don't even bother with the world. Let's stop for a second. Let's scour the province of Ontario for a data point. Here's a data point. The Eglinton Crosstown link. There's a transit system that goes from one side of Toronto to the other side of Toronto on the street, Eglinton. And the Premier of Ontario's brother was insistent that be a subway. So they said, okay, we'll bury it. So that item has been under construction for 16 years. At this exact moment, there is no promised date of completion. And now, a naive person might say, oh, well, that's because the builders are incompetent. I assure you that's absolutely false. The builders they're not incompetent. What's happened is that's a massive task. And somewhere there's a list. And that list is called the completion list, the to-do list, the punch list, the deficiency list. And when 100% of the items on that deficiency list are corrected, then the Eglinton Crosstown link will be in operation. It's been under construction for 16 years. Have they spent $25 billion on it? Yeah, sure. Is it going to be like way, way more than that? Yeah, sure. Positive, for certain. Okay, that's not a nuclear plant. Let's find a data point for a nuclear plant. Here's a data point. Hinkley. I think it's called Hinkley. I said Hinkley. There's a plant, Hinkley, being constructed in England. And how long's that been under construction for? 16 years? I think more. I forget exactly, but it's like more. What is the budget up to at this exact second? I mean, how much money has been spent to date by ostensibly by England, by Great Britain? How much has it been? At this moment, I think we're at a number like this: billion GBP. Okay, can you see this? 45 billion Great British pounds. And how much electricity has Hinkley produced to this moment? Zero. Its design capacity is 2.4 gigawatts, 2,400 megawatts. This moment, it's produced nothing. And is there a date promised for completion? When will this end? Well, there's no promise date for the completion of the Hinkley nuclear plant because the builders say it'll be done when it's done, and we don't know when that's going to be. Okay. Now, how many workers do they have building the Hinkley nuclear plant at this exact second? There's some number of workers there, like 11,000. There's about like 11,000 concrete finishers, concrete form workers, steel erectors, welders, pipe fitters, plumbers, instrument technicians, electricians, site engineers, site surveyors, crane operators, heavy equipment operators. All this, they're all working on this thing, and it's not finished, and there's no promise date. Okay. Now, in my career, my recent career, I get invited and I do guest speaking. I do lectures. I do lectures at I don't like to talk about myself, and I kind of regret starting on this, but this is real. I do guest lectures at universities to business students and MBA students on construction. Okay, and and I mean, I could talk about it forever because there's lots of, and it's funny. It can be really, really, really humorous. But the thing about embarking on a construction project is, well, first of all, I've made a video before. There's nothing more expensive than a hole in the ground. But the way a project gets started is just sheer ego. Okay? You have to have this massive confidence that you're gonna build this thing. Okay, and then you're gonna succeed in it, and then that. Now, no shortage of ego saying that we're going to build some new nuclear plants in the province of Ontario. That's ego is running high on the pole. And then in my videos, or like these little discussions I have is kind of with myself and kind of with you. Thank you very much for watching. Is that I talk about utility. Okay, I've tried to separate out the object from the utility. Right? Like I like to have a nice thing, right? Like you have a thing, it's nice. I mean, I have my I have my crayon box. I think my crayon box is nice. It's just sufficiently silly to be silly, but it's sufficiently useful to be useful. So I have a box of crayons. Utility. Now, electricity, I think, is technically it's a utility. Your utility bill, right? You're paying for your electricity. So in North America, in the world, in Canada, in my house, we want to have utility. We want to have the good that electricity brings. I want to have it so that when I turn on my lights, the lights come on. That when my heat pump activates, my heat pump is working nicely from utility. I don't really much care about the object. In fact, a lot of electrical what do they call it, power lines and such. No one likes looking at them. I don't like looking at them. And if you look at a lot of landscape photographs or urban city photographs, a lot of times all the power lines are going to be removed use Photoshop as a tool to remove the power lines from the picture. Okay, because people don't like to look at it. But what the heck? But this utility thing we want to have is electricity. We don't want to have nuclear plants. I don't care that we have nuclear plants. Nuclear plants are I don't have anything against it. I mean, I think I just made a little bit of a case about why it's nuclear is kind of good. I mean, the electricity is good, right? The problem with it is that It takes a horrendous amount of effort and a horrendous amount of energy and a horrendous amount of resources to build a nuclear plant. And it's putting all your eggs in one basket. And you certainly do not get to turn on light bulb number 1 from your nuclear plant until, similar to the Eglinton Crosstown line, until 100% of your deficiency list is corrected. That's the fact. Now, and there's alternatives. Okay, there's viable alternatives. Right now in the world, the least expensive way to create electricity is not nuclear. Okay, it's not. I mean, in my last video, okay, solar is about something like $1 million a megawatt. Okay, it's $1 a watt for solar. It's a $1. What's a $1? You put the dollar sign here. It's like $1 for a watt of solar, right around. Okay. Now, it's a large-scale solar project. Now, this other project that we got going over here, this Hinkley thing, $45 billion, and somebody there's a thing in in construction called the whisper number, or my business says we have it. It's called we'll have our budget, then we'll have our contingency budget, then we'll have our extra contingency budget, then we'll have our contingency budget that we don't talk about, then we'll have this other number that we don't never mention. And that's how much money do we have hidden in the mattresses in the back room that we can cut into should everything go straight sideways, and we have to do that, the whisper number. So the Hinkley nuclear plant right now, they're at $45 billion for 2.4 gigawatts, 2,400 megawatts. And it's nowhere near complete. So let's say that, sorry, not dollars, British pounds. So let's say a reasonable estimate for completion, according to me, is going to be 100 billion British GBP, British pounds, before this thing is up and running, putting forth their 2.4 gigawatts. So 100 billion. I'm going to get out my calculator. I'm going to do it 100 billion. 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 100 billion British pounds divided by 2.4 gigawatts is going to be 2, 4, 1. Some of those 2,400. It's 2.4 million. Some more zeros. Is like 42. Okay, so we have this number here. It's $1. That's an accepted figure for large-scale solar projects. Is $1 per watt. Okay, and the good thing about solar projects is that you can do, instead of doing one big giant one, you have to have 100% of your punch list completed. You can just do a whole bunch of little ones. So if you put solar on your house that costs about $1 per watt, then it's going to take about 3 or 4 days or 5 days, and it's going to be done, and you're going to be getting electricity, and it's going to be awesome, right? Not 20 years. Not 20 years. This nuclear plant they're building in England, and 25% of it is owned by China. So they're going to be paying money to China forever. But the nuclear plant, $42 per watt. Okay, $42. So it's 40, rough back of the envelope. I mean, this is crayon calculator. The crayon calculation is $45 per watt. So it's like 45 times as expensive as solar. Yeah, 45 times. Wow, eh? So where am I going with this? I'm saying that if you're the leader of the province, that you have basically power of fiat, like you can do whatever you want, and you're going to listen to the people that you like with the great voices and all this stuff, and you're going to build things that you find exciting. And building a new nuclear plant is very exciting. It's as exciting as building an Eglinton Crosstown line. And this idea, 45 times as expensive for the electricity. That's a thing. That's real. That's big. That's comparison. And then look at this. This thing going by behind me. That's a train going through a major urban center. That train is loaded with oil. Oil. And you want to know, here's one. One train derailment in Canada. One train derailment in Canada carrying crude oil, Lac Mégantic, killed more people than Chernobyl and Fukushima and 3 Mile Island combined. Okay, so nuclear is, the safety thing is not is fine, right? The thing that's not fine is the opportunity cost. And I don't even object to the money. I don't object to the province of wherever building a new nuclear plant. What I object to, because, I mean, like I explained that in a way that governments do not spend money. What I object to is the absence of and. The absence of and. So if you see a clear, well thought out communication plan, like I don't think this qualifies. But a clear, well thought out communicator would say, all right, our present demand for electricity is this. We forecast in 10 years and in 20 years, our demand for electricity is going to increase by this amount. We have options for gaining efficiency. I don't like that word, but gaining efficiency by finding, like an example would be LED light bulbs give you 50 times the light for the same amount of energy. But another thing we must do is increase the supply of electricity. So we have options. Option one is we can bring electricity at peak times from other areas that have excess electricity. And that is a very, very loud train that's going on. Goodness gracious. That one is loud. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm sure you can, but that one is loud. So we have options. One option is we can bring electricity from a jurisdiction that has excess electricity at times when we need it, and then we can enhance our capacity for sharing resources. That's a method. Another method is we can add electrical generation both on a large scale, like a medium scale solar installation. We can add electrical generation on a small scale, localized solar generation on building roofs or in parks, or it's a straightforward deal. Or we can add electrical generation by wind turbines, and then someone will say, we don't like to look at wind turbines. You say, okay, we're going to put the wind turbines where you cannot see them. And that's a very doable thing. And wind turbines, I didn't really talk much about it here, but let's just say wind turbines are very comparable in terms of cost and such to solar. You get a tremendous amount of electricity for relatively little effort. Wind turbines. Another thing that someone say, well, why don't we have some petroleum that we could burn and create a heat plant. We can have a natural gas powered electrical generating facility. And then a wise person will say, you know what? That might have been a good idea in 1952, but that's not what we're going to do now. We're not going to add to the demand for fossil gas and fossil fuels. That's just simply as a mistake. We do not want to do that. We've made great advances in electrifying things, and we're not going to go backwards by adding fossil energy. Just not acceptable. And then you could say, well, what about pumped solar? Pumped. Yes, we can. Storage. We can add storage. Someone else will say, well, what about hydroelectric projects? Well, hydroelectric projects actually make sort of sense in the context, because if you look at a region that has a lot of hydroelectricity, like the province of Quebec, and you pull your camera back reasonably far, you're going to notice that they take up so little land area as to be hardly worth mentioning. You can't even really find them on a map if you make the map big enough. Now you stand up next to the thing, it's enormous, but there you go. Now, and a hydroelectric plant is less risky in terms of embarking on a venture than creating a new nuclear plant by a long shot. Okay, now, so we have this idea that we have a data point, which is a nuclear plant that's being built in England that's not complete, no promise date, and tens of billions of British pounds over budget, and 25% owned by ostensibly the Chinese government in England. Okay, my name's Bruce. This is my channel. Thank you for tuning in, watching. I hope that it's somewhat entertaining. I don't know if this one has been particularly fabulous, but it's fine, right? I want to share this idea because I want other people to be as excited about electrification as this is necessary. This is a necessary thing to do. It's just the only question is the how, the why, the where, the pathway forward. And you notice I don't have anything. I'm not saying not to do nuclear. I'm saying, holy smoke! You want to put some and with that, like have some nuclear and some other stuff too at the same time. Why not? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. That'd be great. Appreciate it. Okay, bye.